Now let's talk about Lithuania. Lithuania, again, is one of the Baltic countries, but has a smaller presence on the Baltic Sea, with Palanga being and Klaipėda being the two areas on the Baltic Sea, with Klaipėda being the site of LCC International University, and Palanga being actually the seashore site, sightseeing place for vacations. Kaunas is the second largest city, but Vilnius, the capital, is the largest. Now, a lot of low part lying country, but on the eastern part of this, the terrain rises and the weather actually changes from really a coastal climate to more of a Mediterranean or a continental climate here, cooler winters with snow and so forth. Now, Lithuania was actually part of the Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which at its greatest extent after the Truce of Delino, there during the first half of the 17th century, Poland covered an area of about 1 million square kilometers. This was a big deal at that time. Now, Lithuania has been a European Union member since 2004, a member of the Eurozone, with the Schengen Borders Agreement, in NATO since 2004, and was part of the USSR till 1991. In 1989, the year first it declared independence from the Soviet Union, Lithuania had a population of 3.67 million, which has now declined to 2.9 million. By 2060, the population is predicted to fall to 2.5 million. As you can see, after the fall of the Soviet Union, the population has just plummeted to 2.81 million, says in most recent. Lithuania is not a too bad country to do business with, but it's still ranked 38th on the corruption perception index, better on the ease of doing business index, but it could do better for a number of reasons. However, its growth was reasonable, around that 5% area for quite a few years until the pandemic hit. Really boomed back in 21, but then it slowed back down in 22 and 23 for some reason. Unemployment remained high in Lithuania, 9%, which is considerably higher than in Latvia and Estonia. The gross domestic product on a per capita basis is about $31 million equivalent, about half of what is in the United States. So it could do a lot better. Lithuania is a recipient of funds from the European Union in excess of the money that it sends to the European Union. So obviously it did not like the withdrawal of the United Kingdom with Brexit. But for 6 centuries before 1941, Lithuania was a center of Jewish civilization and learning. Vilnius, Lithuania's capital, was renowned as the Jerusalem of the North. In the countryside, the shtetls nurtured scholarship, crafts, and sports teams. However, the country is itself a cemetery for Jews. Out of the some 208,000 to 210,000 Jews living in Lithuania before the Second World War, between 195,000 and 196,000 of them were killed, one of the worst rates in Europe, due to the thoroughness of the Germans and the widespread collaboration of Lithuanians who rounded up and murdered Jews. The most infamous extermination sites were in Kaunas and Vilnius. In fact, in Vilnius, there is a museum of occupations and freedom fights located in the former KGB palace or prison. That's where Soviet crimes were planned and executed for 50 years. You'll see the former KGB prison, pretty dismal sight, the death penalty room, and you'll see modern exhibitions that show the loss of independence in the 20th century. In the midst of the repression of the Soviet authorities, the Soviet Union committed itself to a persistent struggle for independence. you also see the opportunity at the Wildown State Jewish Museum if time allows. In Lithuania, anti-Semitism remains common. In a Pew poll in 2015, half of the Lithuanians said they would not accept Jews in their family. Almost a quarter said they would reject them as neighbors or citizens. Nationalists love talking about Lithuania's struggles against Russia or Poles, but they are reluctant to discuss their compatriots who collaborated with the Nazis. In fact, in downtown Vilnius, the showy Museum of Genocide Victims is not about the Holocaust, which is strenuously downplayed, but about the post-war Soviet occupation of Lithuania, during which tens of thousands of people died in labor and prison camps over the decades. In Vilnius, you'll see the Cathedral Square and Bell Tower, just really beautiful, and really the site of the Pope's visit there in 2018. You'll see the tower, one of the kings up on the hill. In fact, you can walk up if you wish. You'll see the Palace of Grand Dukes of Lithuania. And these are just really beautiful structures. Lithuania also is with the rest of the of the European Union as being highly dependent on Russian natural gas. But the good news is, first of all, this pipeline, Nord Stream, which was sabotaged, that supplies some of the gas in much of this area, but misses the Baltic countries. The second one was canceled by Germany. But the Lithuanian claim to fame is they built this floating storage and regasification unit terminal in 2014 in the Klaipėda port, so that they could bring in liquefied natural gas connected to the pipelines in the Baltics and break the monopoly of Russia's Gazprom over gas supplies to the Baltic countries. Started operating in December 2014. After its completion, Lithuania became the 5th country in the world to use liquid natural gas technology. The floating liquid natural gas storage and gasification unit has a maximum capacity to handle almost 140 billion cubic feet of natural gas per year. The terminal will more than double its volumes once gas pipelines to Poland and Finland open. It was supposed to open in 2021. I don't know whether that in fact happened with the pandemic.